This is a follow-up video we're doing on the 617 revolver. It's a 617-6. The gun was had a terrible trigger on it, so we had an issue with that, and we also had an issue with the cylinder chambers. One of the first times or second time that we took it to the range, we had a hard time getting some of the shell casings to eject. At that time, I think we were running these Brownings. That's a high velocity 22 long rifle. I think it's 1400 feet per second, or maybe a little bit higher than that. But we could not get those out of the cylinder chambers. That day I can't remember if I borrowed a screwdriver from somebody or what, but we had to take that borrowed plastic end of the screwdriver and basically beat on the end of the ejector rod to get the spent shell casings out. So obviously at that time we stopped running them. Today we went and we ran a multitude of different types of ammo. We got this Thunderbolt. I got some Winchester, I don't know, they call it black copper or something. I got some CCIs here, some Winchesters, Federals, and we ran the Brownings. No problems. I was able to get everything out using basically the heel of my hand or my thumb. After that first session when I had to borrow the screwdriver, I made this wooden hammer. In case it ever happened again, I just put that in my range bag, so you can beat on the end of the ejector rod there with this wooden hammer. What I have been doing though, each time I've gone to the range, I've been using this turbo brush to clean out the cylinder chambers. This thing here is, I don't know if that's what deserves the credit here or not, but that's the only thing that I've been using a brass bristle and mops and whatnot, but that's the only thing I could think that might have an effect, that possibly polishing out the cylinder chambers so that this high-powered Browning 22 cartridge, the spent shell casing can eject. So that's the only thing I could think of. I did call Smith & Wesson on it. I think on my last video I said we're probably going to send it back. I called them. Their customer service said, well, if you use high power cartridges, they're going to expand more inside the cylinder chamber. Well, everybody realizes that. So he said you can send it back and we'll look at it. I ended up, like I say, just continually cleaning it with this thing. Every time I went to the range, I would use this turbo brush on the cylinder chambers, and it's made an improvement. What can I say? So that the other issue on this thing was the trigger. I tell you, I got one of these Ansac speed loaders for this thing on the Ansac blocks. Tell you what, let me grab that. I'll be back in a second. Yeah, so I like I said, I got one of these Ansac speed loaders. This is a 120 block, and this is a speed loader. This thing is the cat's meow. You can reload this thing in no time, and it just increases the fun factor when you're at the range. This is a highly recommended product here. And these 120 blocks, initially before the trigger job was done, you'd get through, I don't know, you'd be on your second block and you'd be having a hard time with the trigger. By the time you got to the beginning of the third block, so you're just, this is 120 rounds, so you're in the 240, 250 on your round count, and it was almost a two-finger trigger pull. Everything, most 95% of what I shoot is all double action. So it was into a two-finger trigger pull on the double action. We did a trigger job on this thing. We put a Power Custom trigger in it, polished up the internals on this thing, stoned everything, and the trigger pull on it now I think is I think it's between 9 and 10 pounds. Before it was, I think, between 11 and 12. But the biggest difference is the clunkety clunk you feel. All of that's been smoothed out. Now, one thing I have to mention is that on this thing, you've got the side plate here, and I did take that side plate off again, and I did polish everything on the internals. There's two channels on that side plate. I took a brush on a Dremel, and I used some Mothers, and it was I think a nylon brush, and it was a small brush, I don't know, maybe a 3/16 diameter, and I just ran it through those channels just to get everything as smooth as possible. The hand rides in one channel, and the trigger block bar rides in the other one. So I did polish that. The other thing I polished was on the hammer there's a linkage. Kind of looks like a stirrup on a saddle, and it ties to the mainspring. That linkage, I took one of these cotton swab sticks, and I just kind of like broke it off and fit the end of that into the Dremel. A small chuck on the Dremel that fit that cotton swab stick. I put some Mothers on it, and I polished out the hammer, the mainspring hooks, because it contacts that linkage. So I just kind of shine those up, and I polished out where that stirrup fits into the hammer. And then I did as best as I could. I kind of polished the inside of the stirrup itself. I think I used the cotton end with some Mothers on it for that part of it. But I just did the best I could. So with all of that done, this thing is night and day. I went through 3 blocks, no problem. All double action. The thing just, it's like a dream now compared to what it was. So I definitely would highly recommend this Power Custom trigger, and polishing up the insides of these things on yourself. I did a video on it, but it was definitely it's definitely worth it. So that's highly recommended. So that's the follow-up on this thing. We had it at the range today. Everything went well. The polish job and the trigger job, definitely worth it. This Ansac loading blocks and these Ansac speed loaders, a fantastic little product there. This brush, we believe, is what really solved the chamber issues. Again, the call of Smith was, yeah, you can send it back, and we'll have it for a while, and we'll turn around and just send it back to you. You know, that's what it sounds like they're saying. So this turbo brush seemed to solve that issue. Other than that, that's about it. So if you got one of these 617s and you want to do your own trigger job on it, good luck with it, and it's definitely worth the effort. One thing perhaps I forgot to mention is you want to make sure on the side plate that you clean out the slots really well. This slot is where the hand rides, and this slot is where the block bar, the hammer block bar rides. So you want to make sure that both of those slots are deburred real well and stoned. The hammer block bar needs a stone that's approximately 200 thousandths in diameter. So if you can get a round, hard Arkansas that's, I don't know, 187 would be 3/16, or up to 200 thousandths in diameter, that would work well for that. On this one we used a round 1/4 inch stone. And then after we got done with that, we also stoned the block bar, because that's going to ride in there, and any friction that develops going up and down. You're going to feel it in the trigger. We use these buffs. This is a small, I think, 1/4 inch and a 3/8 buff inside these slots. Also on that smaller slot we use these a small brush. We use that with some Mother's polish, and it cleaned up, like I say, when you do the test with the cotton swab, it's slick as can be. So that's what you want there, so that when the trigger is pulled, you don't feel any friction on these parts.